Hello, we're back with Five Guys and the Bible, and we certainly thank you for joining in this evening or this morning or whatever it is to you. Today, first of all, a couple things. That's exactly right. This is my Ernie shirt. I was trying to look like an Easter egg in honor of our topic tonight, which is about Easter. Where does Easter fit in as far as the celebration goes in the church? And should we be having sunrise service, Easter egg hunt? Is there anything wrong with those things? But before we get to the question, I do want to remind you that in the last week of April, on the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we will be having a Five Guys conference. Yes, a Five Guys conference located at Emmanuel Baptist Church in, is it Sawyersville? Is that the name of the town?
Whatever. No one ever pronounces it correctly.
Depends on where you're from. Kentucky. So we invite you to come to that. You can message Mark. He'll give you the details, locations, places to stay. It's going to be big. That's all I can say.
It'll be huge.
Huge. Yeah, huge. All right. So with that, go ahead and give us the thumbs up, and we'd greatly appreciate that as well. Now, all right. Now, I'm going to say this. This subject tonight, some of you all are going to go in polar opposite directions, undoubtedly. Haters going to be hating. So when you leave your comments, be nice. And if you're not going to be nice, we're going to delete them. I'm just going to tell you right now. So be gracious. All right? So with that, Mr. Sunrise is going to go first, Troy McGahan.
Well, how is this? Tell me the question again, John. I want to make sure I'm phrasing this right as I answer this.
Well, the way that I understand the question is how should Christians be, I don't know exactly how to phrase it, look at Easter as far as special services go and all things go along with it. Is it biblical? Is it practical? Is it something we should be doing, staying away from, that kind of thing?
Okay, I thought so. I just wanted to make sure I was clear on that, so I'm not going around in circles and not circling the airplane and never landing at the airport. So my thing is this. I don't think there's anything wrong with having sunrise services per se, just like I wouldn't think there'd be anything wrong with having sunrise services on July 4th, Memorial Day, or anything else. I mean, to me, it is just another service. Now, we do here at Friendship Baptist Church. It's something they've done for 36 years. It's not something, to be honest with you, that I think is a big deal to do away with, because I do believe this. Even though I don't agree with how a lot of people approach Easter, okay, I don't think it's all about the bunnies. Although if someone wants to give me a Reese's peanut butter egg, chocolate egg, man, you're more than welcome to. I'll love it. You don't have to do, I don't think it's about the chocolate bunnies, but if you want to give me a chocolate bunny, I'll eat it. If we're going to really make it what we say we're making it about, it needs to be used to draw attention to Christ, okay? It should be about lifting up the name of Jesus Christ. However, that's supposed to be not just Easter, quote-unquote, Sunday. That's really what the purpose of every Sunday is. We're to exalt Christ. We're to talk about him overcoming death, hell, and the grave. We're to talk about his finished work of redemption. We're to talk about him fulfilling the law and every point. Now, having said that, is there anything wrong with having an Easter sunrise service? I dare say no. How could it be wrong to have an extra service to exalt the name of Jesus Christ? Now, I think where we got to be careful, and I think this is where we can have problems, and it's both ways. We can either get so anti anything, not just Easter sunrise services or Easter services, we become pharisaical and we're against everything and for nothing, or we can go the other direction where we let anything and everything go as long as it gets the quote-unquote results we want. So this is my thought. Is there anything wrong with having special services on Easter? No, just like there's nothing wrong with having special services that are revival services or whatever. But if we're going to have truly Easter services, after really what is supposed to be about Christ, then let's make sure that Christ is the focus rather than everything else. That's my thought on it, and I'll pass it on to the next person.
All right. Who's our next guy? Is it Todd or Jason? I can't recall. Todd's number 2. All right.
Well, probably most folks listening to this probably just don't even know that there is some bit of a movement out there, opposed to Easter. That's a shock probably actually to some of our listeners. And, for a few reasons, Easter is not actually in the Bible, quote unquote. Well, I mean, I know the King James does translate in Acts 12:4 the word Pascha as Easter, but that really should be translated Passover like it is everywhere else in the Bible. At least that's one of the 5 guys' opinion on that. I assume I'm not the only one there. But, the Jews had other celebrations as well. They celebrated Hanukkah, which, God never told them to do. And we find Jesus in the Feast of Dedication, which seems to be Hanukkah in John. I don't think God was opposed to that. That's when they cleansed the temple during the 400-year silent period with Antiochus Epiphanes and all the events that happened there. They had Purim that was introduced in the book of Esther, which was not part of the law or, mandated by God, but it seems to be a good thing to celebrate a good thing. I think sometimes we can get a little caught up in just enjoying being opposed to something because other people do it. I think we need to be cautious with that. I will say, though, if there's a person out there who truly cannot separate what they feel like is idolatry in the worship of a day, they should not do that. I mean, Paul addresses that in 1 Corinthians chapter 8 with meat offered to idols. There are no idols. There's only one God. There's nothing associated with the eating of meat that was wrong, but if somebody had the idea that it was going to be idolatry because of their pagan past, they shouldn't eat it. And because they had a weaker conscience. That's not generally the case with those who don't celebrate Easter today. They don't have a pagan past. Most of them have just, come to believe that it's more of a pagan holiday. But let me tell you what pagans are not doing anywhere, ever. Pagans are not celebrating the resurrection of Jesus. None of them. There may be some unbelievers that go to church and go through the motions of listening to a sermon or whatever, but pagans, Muslims, Buddhists, those involved in Hindu religion, none of them are in any way or any form celebrating the resurrection of Jesus. So let's make sure that we do separate that from what we see going on today. So, my question would simply be, how are you celebrating Easter? Is it by singing hymns about the resurrection or preaching a sermon about the resurrection? If so, I don't know how you don't celebrate it, because those are things we should be doing every week of the year. Every Sunday, we should be singing songs that reference the resurrection and preaching sermons that reference the resurrection. So this probably be a Sunday that I don't actually have a sermon devoted to, the resurrection of Christ. I'm in Romans right now. I'm pretty excited about where I'm at, and I just can't get away. But I'm certainly not opposed to people singing hymns about Jesus raising from the dead and preaching about it. That's a good thing. And if people come to church on that day to hear the gospel, you need to preach the gospel to them. That's what you need to be doing. Now, I will say this. You don't need to treat this day like it's some special day in the sense that you don't go to church the other 51 Sundays of the year. I'm completely opposed to that. But if celebrating Easter means celebrating the resurrection, I say go for that, because that's what we ought to be doing. That's all I've got.
All right. That's going to take us to Jason.
I'm going to do some agreeing with Todd, oddly enough. I know, shocking, right? Close that mouth. First off, I'll back Todd up so he's not the only one. Acts 12:4, the use of the word Easter in King James Version is Pashka. It's Passover. The complaint that a lot of people have about celebrating Easter or recognizing Easter is to say it's connected to pagan origins. And it seems like that's a possibility. There was a goddess Estre or Ostre, which was a Germanic goddess from Europe. There was another one further back called Ishtar, who was a fertility goddess in Assyria and Babylon. So that, eggs and bunnies and all those kind of fertility things in spring kind of follow along with that theme. I don't know if that's the origin, but I'm certain that eggs and bunnies have nothing to do with the resurrection of Jesus. So when I talk about celebrating Easter, I'm not saying there's going to be, a bunch of chocolate bunnies and we're going to have an egg hunt or any stuff like that. But we're going to recognize the resurrection of Jesus. This isn't like Christmas, which, obviously Christmas dated back to, it's placed in December as a substitute for the winter solstice celebration of Saturnalia, right? And we don't know that Jesus was born in December, but, Easter is not like that. Easter, where it's said to celebrate the resurrection of Jesus, is doubtlessly pretty close to the actual resurrection date. And so if we want to recognize that, I have no issue with it. And I don't really care what we call it, right? There's a lot of things that we use pagan names for that doesn't mean we're celebrating a pagan god unless, you use the word Sunday to celebrate the sun, or Moon Day for the moon, or Saturn's Day for Saturn, or Wednesday is actually Odin's Day. I don't care what they're called. I'm not celebrating those pagan idols. But I'm going to celebrate and commemorate and proclaim the resurrection of Jesus on Easter. I'm going to celebrate, commemorate, and proclaim the resurrection of Jesus every Sunday. So, I've heard preachers say, well, I'm not, I've actually had a church tell me once, you're not going to preach about the resurrection on Easter Sunday. It's like, okay, what other days am I not allowed to preach the gospel? Because, the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus is the gospel message. And to say you're not going to preach the resurrection is just to say you're not going to preach the gospel. And man, I just can't go there. So while I don't really care about the name, what I care about is remembering we're going to celebrate and commemorate the resurrection of Jesus every Sunday, including this one coming up. And that's all I got.
All right, that brings it to me. I'm going to agree with a lot of what's been said already. I believe these guys have done an excellent job in presenting what they believe. And, come Sunday, I will be preaching undoubtedly something that has to do with the resurrection of Christ. And this is the right time of year. Our minds are naturally focused towards it. And I believe it's of the utmost importance to preach the gospel anytime we get the chance to do that. And certainly we try to do that every Sunday. I am one of those people that tend to call it Resurrection Sunday. I don't really like the name Easter. That's just me. I will say it. I'm not opposed to saying it, but I don't like the term just because I understand the origins of that word. Now, I will say this, though, and this is my belief towards the day, and that is whatever you do, first of all, as Romans 14:5 says, you need to be fully persuaded in your mind. I believe that that's the way that it should be, the way you approach any of your holidays. As you look into that chapter, I think that that's good instruction. But number two, the focus is Christ. It has to be Christ first, foremost, and whatever. And when you come to church, if it's all about the basket that you're going to get, if it's all about the new outfit that you're wearing, if it's all about the Easter egg hunt that's going to happen on the church lawn afterwards, you are there for the wrong reasons. That is not what it's about. And that's why I am just really kind of opposed to any of the other traditions being brought into the services, because ultimately our nature is to be thinking of those other things rather than thinking about what they should be. When we have a church dinner following service, and I can smell the dinner wafting from the kitchen, it's hard enough not to think about the dinner that's coming afterward, let alone, an Easter egg hunt and prizes and all these kind of things that goes on. That would be even the more so. So, yes, I think the focus needs to be on Christ. I'm not opposed to somebody, if they want to get up and have a sunrise service. People have been doing it since the 1700s. If you want to do that, I'm not opposed to it. But again, keep Christ central. Don't make it about the pancake breakfast afterwards. Don't make it about anything else. Make it about Christ. And then I'll be happy. And we like to be happy. So, all right. With that, we're going to turn things over to Mark.
Selfie time, Jason? Okay, so how do I feel about Easter? Well, I used to be adamantly against Easter in all aspects. I in my past have said, I've heard it preached many times why you shouldn't preach on, why you shouldn't observe Easter services, and I've actually heard people stand in the pulpit, and maybe even me myself, and if you're only here on this time of the year, you're doing wrong, and you ought to be here all the other times of the year, and this kind of stuff. And I thought, I kept on seeing all these people coming to church, and it's my opportunity to share with them glorious resurrection. And instead I was berating them and attacking them, and I've heard them berated and attacked on this is why we're not celebrating Easter and all that kind of stuff. And I began to think to myself, these people are coming. They're expecting some type of Easter service. Why should I berate them? Why not share the gospel with them? Why not talk to them about the resurrection and their only hope being through the resurrection of Jesus Christ? And without the resurrection of Jesus Christ, they have no hope. Why not share with them a message that the Lord could use to save their souls instead of attacking them? So I decided a long time ago to quit attacking them. Now, we're probably, and we're not going to have an Easter sunrise service, although I have thought about it a few times. There'll be plenty of those in our community, like there probably are in all communities. But we will do another little extra thing on this time of year. We kind of celebrate a little bit of Christmas at our church, and so we do Christmas caroling, and our Christmas caroling consists of going and visiting the sick and the shut-in members of the church, the nursing home, and there's a drug rehab center in our community, so we go and sing them a few carols or whatever for Christmas. Now we have a thing called Easter caroling. We started doing this a few years back. What do? We get together, we take the shut-ins a flower, and we sing, He arose, or I serve a risen Savior, He lives in the world today, whatever. We sing some song that exalts the resurrection, and we do Easter caroling. And again, we'll go to the nursing home tomorrow night. And again, this is on Tuesday. We're doing that on Wednesday. We'll take them some pictures that the kids have colored, and we just use it as an opportunity to minister to others. So what we do on Easter is We take the opportunity to minister to other people's needs. I mean, we do it every Sunday, but that's really, we do kind of make it a little bit extra. And again, the whole purpose from my account is that I don't want to berate them. Yeah, I know they're only here one time a year. Yeah, I know they're wrong. I know that they should be here every Sunday, but the fact of the matter is they're lost and they don't see the need, and they're not going to be here every Sunday. So if I've got them here, I'm going to try to minister to them and help them instead of attack them. Now, that's just me. And so, we're going to sing a few extra songs. We'll have a few choir specials that deal with songs that some of them are songs that John and Todd sing in their normal worship services, or some songs we're going to sing. And I don't sing in this thing, but we got a choir that's going to sing about 3 or 4 songs, and then I'll preach a message on the resurrection. It actually fits into my series that I'm preaching now, but I'm going to talk about the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And then guess what? We're going to take all the little kids outside. And this is something we used to do at our home with our kids and some of the kids that my wife used to babysit these kids and all that. She used to have them at the house and she'd go out and hide eggs in the yard. We used to hide Easter eggs all year long. That's one of my kids' favorite things to do. It may be, the leaves may be on the ground in the fall, but they'd love to go find those Easter eggs. I don't know why, but anyway, we'll throw a bunch of eggs out on the ground and say, kids, go find you some eggs. And, just basically take about 10 minutes to do that little thing, and they'll all have a piece of candy or something in them probably. And that's about it. And then we'll all go home. Nothing really special, just time to fellowship a little bit together and minister to people. And you know what? I got them there. I'm not going to berate them. I'm going to try to not give them what they're looking for, but in a sense, make it something that I can use to minister to their needs, hopefully, instead of driving them away. And if I go into this long diatribe about Easter and what it all is and all that stuff, listen, they're not going to know anything about that. And so I'm just going to preach the resurrection to them and try to minister to their needs. Call me a bad guy if you want to. It is what it is. And that's just what we're going to do. To me, it's no big deal what we do, because we're just trying to minister to people. And that's why we do what we do. And so I guess that's it. That's what I'm going to do. Again, you may think I'm wrong, and that's okay. But I'm just going to try to minister to people. And with that, I'll be quiet.
All right. Well, I appreciate all the answers. And I don't know what Jason's preoccupation is with his phone. Maybe you all do. But I thought he was Googling his answers at first. I mean, that's what he usually does, is right as we're starting, he Googles Wikipedia.
John, one of the things that I think is funny, Todd and Jason always act like they never agree, but the only thing I've heard them do, they always agree. That's all I ever hear is, it's surprising that I'd agree with you. No, it's every single time. They're just like, I think they're separated at birth or something. I don't know what it is.
He sends me my notes.
At a time.
It's the Mutual Admiration Society.
No, the real answer is they both use Wikipedia.
Whoa.
No, I'm just kidding.
We both use Google, but not Wikipedia.
Theopedia.
You know what we can't agree on? We cannot agree on whether Todd is wrong or mistaken.
Roll Tide, brother. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
All right. Well, from Ernie and the gang, again, thank you for watching. And again, like us, share us. We'd greatly appreciate it. Send us your questions, because we need good ones. So thank you again. Good night, good morning, or whatever it is, and God bless.
Bye, everybody.
Adios, amigos.